Welcome to the show. Today we're diving into Mississippi State's regional run matchups, momentum, and must-watch moments. What's real, what's hype, and who's got the edge? Let's break it all down.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Jaron, Spor, National College Football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We got a fun Friday show for you today. We're going to preview the baseball regional. We kind of teased that in the open. We're also going to talk about more of what has happened at SEC meetings. Not a whole lot's been decided, but we're going to talk about some of the things that is being discussed.
Yeah.
And then, like we do every Friday, we end it with Next Up in Starkville. So first, let's start off with the baseball regional. They play later on tonight.
Yep.
I believe it's a 6:30 game. And it's on ESPN Plus. So if you're looking for it on the regular channels or some ESPN or any of that, it's not on that. ESPN Plus. So if you don't have it, get a free subscription for the weekend. But
I do it every time.
Yeah, if you have Hulu, you already have it. So there you go. But the first game's obviously against Northeastern. Then the starter has been announced. It's going to be Ben Davis, which I kind of want to get your thoughts on that because we talked about this earlier in the week. You kind of said that you thought it needs to be either Evan or Pico.
Mm-hmm.
I agreed with you, but I said, or they might go with, I thought maybe they decide, maybe we can get through this. Then we can save Pico for the next game, even if we lose, and then use Pico in a do or die game against either if Northeastern were to win and lose to Florida State, we could save them. Or if they beat Northeastern without Pico, you can use Pico against Florida State. I thought maybe they could do something like that. I did not see Ben Davis being the starter, though.
Yeah, I didn't either, and it's weird. And at this point, like when the A&M game happened, we were like, well, at least pitchers will be rested. Pico will be rested. Evan will be rested. At this point, even if they come in, I'm worried about rust at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been, I think Pico threw like 3 1/3 against Missouri, and that was the last time he pitched. I mean, it's been 2.5, 3 weeks since he's really pitched. But I mean, Ben Davis has had a pretty good year, but when you're bringing him in, you're looking at a bullpen game. I mean, best case scenario, he's going to get you 4 innings. Hopefully, it's 4 innings, 1 run, something like that. But then you're going to have to rely on the bullpen that's been shaky. He isn't someone who's gone deep into games. Last time we saw him pitch was against A&M, where he came in relief, gave, I believe it was 3 1/3 innings. And 3 innings and 2 runs. So, I mean, not bad, but they're playing for tomorrow, and I don't like that.
Yeah, and, the only time he's made it past 5 innings, well, actually, you could just say the only time he's made it past 4 innings, because that's his highest outside of this game, is he had a 6-inning game against Queens. He allowed 1 hit, 1 run, and walked 2 batters while also striking out 4 in that game. Outside of that, he's been kind of consistently around the 3-inning mark. You mentioned the A&M game at Missouri was 3.1 innings. Before that, he made it a 3rd inning. Then he made it 1 inning against Ole Miss, but then 3 innings against Kentucky. So he's kind of been in that 1 to 3 inning range. So it's an interesting decision to go with him. I thought if you didn't go with Evan or you didn't go with Pico, you'd probably go with Ryan again and just see if his defense will help him this time, if he can kind of keep the momentum that he had against A&M. But I also understand going with the veteran, and you're just going to kind of make it a bullpen type game. But like you said, I don't love that, and I think that's the kind of move that gets you beat.
Yeah, I think it is too. And if you're concerned about, tomorrow, the next game, unless something insane happens, you're playing Bethune-Cookman in the losers game. So that's when you go bullpen game. I think you should you start Evan in this one. And if you get the win, great. You have Pico set up for the game against Florida State. If you lose, you bullpen game it against Bethune-Cookman, who you should beat.
Right.
And then you have Pico ready for the do or die game.
And maybe their thought process is we go with the bullpen game. This game, if we lose, we throw Ryan against Bethune-Cookman. And then we have Evan and Pico. Pico obviously would probably go that next game in a do or die game, but if you win, then Evan can pitch in the do or die regional game. But then what are you doing for that last regional game? You know, another bullpen game, most likely. At that point, you'd have to probably go bullpen game again. But it is an interesting decision to go with that, and especially because Ben, and I'm not saying Ben's going to go out there and pitch like a starting pitcher in terms of pitch 6-7 innings, but Ben's been one of your better relievers, so you don't want him to do that, because then he wouldn't pitch probably the rest of the weekend, and you can't have that because we know how bad the bullpen's been, but Ben's been at least the one solid one.
Yeah, and like nothing that I'm saying is a knock against him. He has been one of the most consistent pitchers they have had over the course of this year. It's just he's not a starter, really. Right. I mean, and if he does come in, he's giving you 3 innings, and that's not what you want in this situation when you're playing at least you're probably playing 2 more games at least.
Yeah, and
you're taxing your bullpen immediately, because that then puts extra weight on the guys who do start, on Pico and Evan. If one of them gets in early trouble, you now just have to run with them. You don't have the option of going to your bullpen.
Yeah, and he's again, the most runs he's allowed is 3, but in a game. But again, he doesn't pitch a lot of innings. But I will say he's only allowed 2 runs in his last 6 outings, and that's again really solid. And so maybe he can come out and make some magic happen. But I do want to kind of talk about Northeastern a little more, because we kind of talked about them obviously a little bit earlier when we kind of found out what the regional was going to be. But the more I look at this team, they went 25-2 in conference, 48-9 overall. The more I like this team. The thing is, you don't see 3 pitchers like they have, all with an under a 3 ERA that are starting pitchers for them, and all 3 allow a batting average of 218 or lower. Like they are, and again, I understand the competition. Like, I'm not naive to that, but if you look at all their pitchers, let's see, only 1, 2, 3, 4 guys, which most of them, those 4 guys had only played like 7 games, so they're not like consistent players. The only 4 guys have allowed over a 3 batting average, and again, all 4 of those guys haven't played many games, so they're obviously not like key rotational pieces. Like, they got a very good pitching staff. Now, again, I understand. I'm going to reiterate it again. I understand.
No, there's no, like, I understand that too, but there's a point where that doesn't matter. I mean,
just doing that is impressive.
No, having one pitcher do that is impressive.
Yes.
Like, these are the numbers you see the guy who goes in the top 5 of the MLB draft doing against high school players.
Right.
Like, this is that kind of dominance almost, and it's 4 guys. Like, they're deep as a pitching staff, which is another reason that it concerns me your starting bullpen game, because you have an ace, you have a guy you think can be a number 2, and then you have this weird bullpen that is sometimes great and sometimes gives up like 12 runs. Why are you putting yourself in a position to basically have to go probably another short outing into a bullpen game against a team with that? I mean, it seems like you're setting yourself up for failure.
No, I agree with that. And you know, we talked about, when we were talking about them earlier in the week, 27 wins, I don't care who you're playing against, in a row is very impressive. And we were like, man, because baseball is just one of those weird ones that you have your off days, you lose to teams you shouldn't lose. Like, it just happens.
You fall down in the outfield and the ball drops next to you. I mean,
right. Something happens, but they haven't had those issues. They've won 27 straight games. And it was like, how are they doing that? It's because of that. It's that pitching. When you have that many pitchers that are pitching good baseball, if one guy isn't having a hot day, you throw the other one in, and then it's shut down, because the likelihood of all 6 or 8 or however many they pitch having off days is not high. And that's why they're able to win all these games in a row, is because I'm sure, and again, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on Northeastern, but I'm sure it's one of those things that if he's struggling early, they don't wait to see if he figures it out. It's a quick change.
Oh, yeah. And another thing it tells me is they're fundamentally sound. Yeah. Because even if you're a good pitcher, if they're putting the ball in play and you have guys making errors, you're not going to win that game. We've seen that happen a lot here. So you have a good pitching staff. They're not making a lot of errors. That's not a team you play around with. And it seems like Justin Parker has made the decision to play around with them.
Yeah, and I will say they have, and maybe this is why they're going that route. I'm looking at their batters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of like their main guys that start for them, or at least in the rotation. They list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They list 13 guys that are kind of your starters, just kind of a rotational
starters, main utility guys.
Yeah. They list 13 of those. I will say 6 of them have a batting average of under 250. And so maybe that's why they're kind of thinking we might be able to get away with a bullpen type game, because they're often and we talked about their 3 really high end batters: Harrison Feinberg, Cam Maldonado, and Jack Goodman. They all have over 10 home runs. They have over 50 RBIs. They have another guy in Lane has 47 RBIs. So they have guys that have like decent numbers, but they're not this great hitting team, and maybe that's why they're going this direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I can see getting there. But if that's the case, I'm still starting Evan here. I mean, he's had a couple good starts. He can go deep enough to maybe save your bullpen to where you don't have to, you're not sitting there going, okay, well, now our bullpen's dead. These guys have to give us 7 innings. You can go there. Maybe you run it up on him and you get out of there in, 6 innings. And that's best case scenario. But I'm just not a fan of starting with what's going to be a bullpen game. I think it puts you in
I agree.
It puts you in a bad situation going forward, even if it works, even if they win this game. And, Ben Davis goes 3 2/3, gives up 1 run. You win this game 5-1. Your bullpen's still taxed, and you're still going to be playing. You're going to have to play things perfectly going forward. It gives you no room for error.
And last thing I'll say, I know we got to get to the next topic, but maybe they're thinking if we can get through this game in a bullpen game, our starters can go the distance, or not the full distance, but can go 7-8 innings because they didn't pitch last week either, and they've had this much time off. Maybe that's kind of what they're thinking. But like you said, you got to be perfect, and you have to have that because you're not going to have a bullpen to turn to after this game. So
you have like 1 pitcher.
Right. All right. So we'll see what happens there. But all right, roster limits. They could be coming to the SEC. Georgia head coach Kirby Smart had some interesting comments about that. We'll get into that and how that will affect Mississippi State and the rest of the league. That's coming up next. Well, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've been watching the conference finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder routed the Minnesota Timberwolves. I believe that was on Wednesday night. That was kind of the consistent trend. So maybe during the game, you want to put a bet on the over for turnovers forced for that game. Something like that probably would have worked in your favor. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander obviously played well. Tyrese Halliburton has played well for the Indiana Pacers against the Knicks. So maybe you want to put a couple props, couple parlays on his points, rebounds, assists, things like that. You'll be able to do that as well. If you're new to FanDuel, don't worry and listen up. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to say this real quick. It is storming outside, just started. So if you hear thunder or something, or my camera starts messing up, I saw the Wi-Fi thing pop up. So that might not be the best sign, but we're going to push through this. It's been storming all week here. So, all right, let's get into this. Football roster limit. So the kind of proposal, I believe, is 105, if I remember correctly. And it's basically going to take out walk-ons, essentially what it's going to take away, which Kirby Smart talked about that, how he wasn't super happy about taking out a walk-on, and he mentioned a player by name, and I can't remember his name, but he talked about how he was kind of the heart and soul of the team, and he worked up into becoming a on-scholarship player, and he talked about how that's now just going to go away. Those great stories and those opportunities for these guys early on is just going to go away, and that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it is.
It's a hard thing because I understand where he's coming from, and I agree from that standpoint. But it's because of the NIL era, it's going away. Because what was happening was guys were signing people that were star players and calling them walk-ons and paying for their school and everything through NIL because it didn't count to your roster limit if you added them as a walk-on.
Right. Didn't hit that scholarship limit.
So it wasn't a real walk-on. It was this star player like, hey, you come here, we'll pay for all your tuition, we'll pay for everything, don't worry about that, and we'll give you your NIL on top of that, and you'll be fine. And so it was teams kind of bending the rules a little bit.
No, teams bend rules.
Yeah, so it's that's why, like, I get both sides. I get just saying 105, that's it. And then I also get the now we're losing out on these cool stories. Because I share those every single time I see a walk-on get on scholarship. I love those stories.
Yeah, it's a weird situation because, I'm exactly with you on this. It sucks you don't get the cool stories of the guys who, fought their way to a roster spot, become contributors, maybe get a shot in the NFL. Like, those guys are going to be gone pretty much. The routes, they're going to have to go lower level and then try to get a scholarship offer through the transfer portal at one of these schools.
Right.
So, but something has to be done. I mean, with every, during this Wild West NIL transfer portal era, there's going to have to start being things introduced to curtail the craziness that's happening. I don't know. I mean, yes, this in a way will fix it, but I don't know if this is the perfect way to do it. I don't know what the perfect way to do it is, but it does kind of seem like you're going to hurt teams in a different way than obviously. I mean, you're closing the back door of this non-scholarship player, but I don't like the ramifications of it on, for the normal walk-on.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I will say the bad thing is a lot of times these walk-ons, they were diehard fans of that school. They always dreamed of playing for that school, but they weren't like maybe they didn't have the right measurements, or maybe they just weren't quite good enough to be on scholarship, or maybe they played at too small of a school to really get recognized. And this is their chance to still play for that program. And not to say that like, oh, it's a charity selection. No, they have to go through like a tryout just to make the team. So it's like they obviously see something in you to be on the team, but and so that kind of sucks for these guys that they're not going to be able to do that. Instead, they're going to have to go to another school. Hopefully they play well, and then they can go and back to that school. But even at that point, if you're putting 105 roster limit, are you going to take a guy that won't have a great chance of ever playing for you? Or are you going to take a guy that's physically gifted but just may not have made the right decisions, or may just haven't lived up to his physical gifts? Like, whatever it is, you're most likely going to take that guy because you have at least the thinking and ability that, hey, we can get something out of him. Whereas I don't know if we can get something out of him. There's just too many unknowns with that kind of player. Right.
Yeah. And it seems like this, along with just the transfer portal in general, has kind of, it's kind of killing the stories we love about college football. The guy who is the 3-star guy who sits somewhere for 2 or 3 years, earns a spot, and as a senior becomes a star. Like, that's not going to happen rarely anymore.
Right.
Now we're losing the walk-on who becomes a contributor because of the NIL. So, I mean, we all knew things like this would happen eventually. Maybe not these exact examples, but I mean, the professionalism of college sports is here, and this is what happens. You don't get the undrafted free agent essentially as much anymore because, well, you're paying everybody.
Right. And the stories you're going to get now is under-recruited guy goes to small school, performs really well, then gets like Jared Verse, for example. Went to this small school, had this great production, then got brought up to Florida State, became a star. But even then, like most walk-ons, even the ones that get put on scholarship, they're not star players,
Right.
They're just good players. And so that's where it will be like, they don't even put up star numbers at small schools when they go there either. They put up good numbers, and then you bring them on because they're a perfect cultural fit, they're a perfect locker room fit, and things like that. And that kind of stuff I don't think is going to happen as often. Right. It's just going to be more of the overlooked, really talented, but maybe a late bloomer or whatever the case may be. Those guys are the ones that are going to eventually get brought up.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And it's part of one of the things I hate about this era is we're kind of losing the soul of college sports a little bit with some of these things. But right. I mean, overall, I mean, we all know people are paying players anyway. So, I mean, at least it's semi-regulated in a way, and there's somewhat of a even playing field on it. But it sucks to lose these portions of this game.
Yeah. All right, coming up next, we give what we are looking forward to the offs or this weekend, and I have an interesting one that you're definitely going to want to hear. That's coming next. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I mean, obviously baseball, but we've already kind of talked about that today. I don't think, I mean, obviously we're going to be watching that, but the other one, it's got to be all the recruits that are on campus this weekend. I mean, I think, was it 12 or 14 official visitors?
Something like that. It's a big one.
Big one, a lot of names that we mentioned earlier this week that we're looking forward to. So seeing what the football team can bring in, if they can build some momentum with some of these guys, maybe get a couple commitments. That's what I'm going to be watching.
That's a good one. I thought you were going to go a different direction, so I'm going to have to bring that one up at the end. It's not the way I'm going with, but I think Mississippi State's going to have a baseball coach by the end of this weekend. I think it's going to be officially going to be announced. I think you're seeing kind of the rumors and the rumblings, and it's Brian O'Connor from Virginia. It's kind of the rumors.
It's beyond rumblings at this point.
Yes, and it's not. I'm not saying that I know like, oh, he's been hired or anything. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's been agreed to. This is just my belief. I believe it's been agreed to, and as soon as the season ends, maybe they wait a day just to kind of give respect to your players and the current coaching staff. But I think it gets announced shortly afterwards. So maybe you know something Sunday, maybe you know something Monday. Hopefully for Mississippi State fans, we're moving on to the Super Regional, so you don't know about it yet. So we have to wait a little bit. But I think he's going to end up being the hire. I mentioned this in the tweet about it. He wasn't our first choice, Landon and I's, but he was probably our second choice. So he has this great track record. He's won a national championship. He's been to multiple college World Series. Like, he has this amazing track record. So it's not like just because we like Wozakowski more doesn't mean we don't like O'Connor. We like him a lot.
I think he'll be a great fit here. It's just Wozakowski just interested in me more from his personality standpoint. I thought it would be a really cool fit here. But yeah, Brian O'Connor coming here is the worst kept secret in sports right now. I mean, all kinds of reporters are putting out official, unofficial type. Hey, this is pretty much agreed on. Just wait for it type of stuff. So yeah, I mean, if Mississippi State does not make it out of this regional, I will be shocked if he's not the coach by this time next week. Yeah,
no, that's definitely fair. The one I thought you were going to mention was, and we talked about it just privately in a text message, the Mike Leach news, which I don't want to get into a lot of it here. We'll just kind of briefly talk about, because I want to do a full segment on that.
Oh, me too.
We'll do that. Yeah,
I mean,
Landon and I are massive Mike Leach fans.
Biggest Mike Leach fans.
Yeah, we're huge Mike Leach fans. So we'll dive into that more next week. Yes. But the news that they've dropped the win percentage requirement from 60% to 59%. I think they just dropped it 1% to 59%.
Yeah.
Which will allow Mike Leach to be inducted. He has to still be selected, obviously, but he is eligible now. And Les Miles also saw that he would be now eligible to get in. So there you go, LSU fans and Oklahoma State fans, all you. But
State fans don't want him in there.
Yeah, probably not. But Mississippi State, great news for the Mike Leach. He's meant so much to the sport. I had someone say that he doesn't deserve to be in, and that's why I want to do a full segment on it, because then we can kind of dive into it.
That doesn't deserve to watch college football.
Yeah, fair. So I do want to dive into that. We'll do that next week, sometime, either Monday or Tuesday. So but we'll talk about that. But yes, so shout out to the committee for lowering that and getting Mike Leach possibly in. I doubt he won't get in. I think he'll definitely get voted in, because I don't think you make this move only a 1% drop unless you had someone in mind to get in. And so that's always great news. But all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over on Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check that out. If there's something you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments below. Also, we post a question in our comments on YouTube, so we love your feedback on that as well. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.